In the quiet of an early Austin morning, the routine felt as predictable as the sunrise. I awoke to the steady hum of the coffee machine and the sizzle of bacon in the kitchen. Every sound in the house was a reminder of a life carefully arranged, yet today the familiar comfort stirred a sense of disquiet. As I shuffled through my morning tasks, preparing a modest breakfast and glancing absent-mindedly at the empty hallway, an ache of loneliness pressed quietly at my heart. Derek, my husband, had already left for work, leaving the house suspended in a void of unspoken words and routine silence. Each step in the morning felt deliberate yet detached, as if I were a spectator in my own life. The clink of dishes and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee could not dispel the deep-seated yearning for something more, something unexpected. It was as though the daily monotony had woven a tapestry of comfort and confinement in equal measure, leaving me with a lingering question about the choices that had led me here. That morning, as the soft light seeped through the window, I felt an unsettling restlessness. The usual cheer of family mornings was absent, replaced by the slow, measured rhythm of solitude. Memories of vibrant laughter and spontaneous adventures felt like echoes from a past I had slowly forgotten. In that silence, a spark of rebellion flickered, a desire to break free from the ordinary and reclaim the vividness of life that once defined me. With a trembling resolve, I made a quiet promise to myself. The day would not simply pass in the background of routine. Beneath the polished surface of my orderly life, an undercurrent of longing for change began to surge, whispering that something transformative was waiting just beyond the familiar. The restlessness of that morning gradually morphed into a burning desire for change, a longing to break free from the unyielding rhythm of my everyday existence. As the hours passed, the familiar hum of the household morphed into a dull, uninviting background noise. With each passing minute, the idea of escaping, even momentarily, grew louder and more insistent. I found myself standing at a crossroads, caught between the safe, predictable routine that had defined my life for so long and the tantalizing promise of a spontaneous adventure that beckoned like a distant mirage. While the world outside still slumbered, I began to map out an alternative course. In a rare moment of honest introspection, I realized that the echoing void of my daily routine was not simply a side effect of a life well ordered. It was a signal, a clarion call demanding attention. I wanted to feel the pulse of nature beneath my feet, to breathe in the unfiltered air of the unknown, and to rediscover the excitement that had long since been stifled by the weight of responsibilities and familiar habits. The decision came with the sudden clarity of a lightning strike. I would not let another day slip by in the confines of routine and regret. Instead, I resolved to take my son, Ryan, on a journey to the outskirts of our bustling city, a trip that promised a change of scenery and perhaps a temporary reprieve from the monotony that had slowly eroded the vibrancy of our lives. There was an exhilarating freedom in that spontaneous decision, one that resonated deeply with the unspoken hopes I had long suppressed. In that charged moment, as I gathered a few essentials and roused Ryan from his quiet slumber, the mundane walls of our home seemed to recede, replaced by the vast possibilities that lay ahead. The air was crisp with the promise of adventure, and though uncertainty lingered like a shadow at the edges of my resolve, it was eclipsed by an overwhelming need to seize life, if only for a few fleeting hours. Thus began the journey toward a new, uncharted chapter, one that would challenge everything I thought I knew about comfort, loyalty, and the restless heart of a woman craving to live fully. As our car pulled away from the city's familiar confines, the scenery began to transform in ways that felt almost surreal. The concrete jungle gave way to expansive, rolling fields, and towering oak trees lined the narrow, winding roads that led us toward the lake. Ryan, still bleary-eyed from sleep, watched out the window with a mix of wonder and anticipation, his eyes growing wide at the sight of nature reclaiming its space. The muted hum of the engine was soon accompanied by the symphony of chirping birds and the rustling leaves dancing in the gentle breeze. The journey itself was a tapestry of subtle revelations, Each turn revealed a patchwork of wildflowers and shimmering streams, as if the countryside was offering us a secret, ever-changing art gallery. The mundane worries of everyday life seemed to dissolve with every mile traveled, replaced by a quiet exhilaration. I found solace in the rhythmic cadence of the tires against the asphalt, the steady pace a comforting reminder that sometimes a change in scenery is all it takes to reset one's inner clock. We made a brief stop at a small roadside stand where a local farmer sold freshly baked bread and homemade jams. The encounter, though fleeting, was marked by genuine warmth and simplicity, a stark contrast to the hurried, impersonal transactions of city life. Ryan eagerly bit into a slice of bread, his smile infectious as he shared his delight with me. That simple moment of connection was a silent affirmation that life's beauty often lay in the details we overlook. The road eventually led us to the outskirts of a charming, unassuming town nestled by a sparkling lake. As we approached the water's edge, the sight was breathtaking. The lake, a mirror-like expanse of clear blue water, stretched out before us, cradled by a dense copse of trees that whispered tales of forgotten summers. The gentle lapping of water against the shore and the cool, crisp air carried away the residue of our urban burdens, leaving behind only a profound sense of renewal. In that fleeting moment, with the tranquil vista unfolding before our eyes, I felt as though the universe had granted us a small reprieve, a chance to breathe deeply, to rediscover joy, and to remember that beauty often thrives on the periphery of our everyday routines. I had barely settled into the soothing quiet of the lakeside town when fate intervened in the most unanticipated way. While wandering along a cobblestone path that led to a quaint cafe nestled by the water's edge, I noticed a familiar face among the gentle bustle of locals and tourists. There, sitting at a weathered wooden table beneath a canopy of flowering vines, was Jordan, a man whose presence stirred memories of a past filled with shared dreams and laughter. My heart skipped a beat as I hesitated at the threshold of the cafe, uncertain if this encounter was destiny or a mere coincidence. As I stepped inside, the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the soft murmur of conversations, creating a serene cocoon that momentarily isolated me from my internal turbulence. I approached Jordan, whose eyes, unexpectedly gentle and probing, met mine with a mixture of surprise and a spark of unspoken familiarity. Without preamble, he invited me to join him. Over the course of a few cups of coffee, our conversation unfolded like an old, cherished book rediscovered on a dusty shelf. We spoke not just of the past, but of our evolving selves, of the small joys that still lit up our hearts amid life's relentless march. His words, both comforting and challenging, coaxed out feelings I had long suppressed. The easy cadence of his laughter and the warmth in his tone broke through the solitude that had clouded my morning, stirring an emotional cocktail that was as intoxicating as it was disorienting. In the gentle glow of that rustic cafe, every gesture, every glance, carried the weight of unspoken sentiments. His subtle smile hinted at shared secrets and the promise of possibilities beyond the mundane, while I found myself quietly captivated by the genuine empathy in his eyes. The encounter, brief yet profound, left an indelible mark on my soul. As our conversation drew to a close, and Jordan bid me farewell with a tender, almost imperceptible kiss on my cheek, I was left with a poignant blend of elation and uncertainty. It was a moment that shattered the confines of routine, thrusting me into an emotional maelstrom that I both feared and welcomed. As the day drew to a close, the initial euphoria of our encounter with Jordan began to ebb, leaving behind a tender yet disquieting residue. The cafe's warmth and the gentle murmur of conversations faded into the quiet solitude of a lakeside twilight, and I found myself alone with a swirling mix of emotions that I had long kept at bay. It was in that liminal space between day and night that the ghost of his farewell lingered, a soft, lingering kiss on my cheek that now resonated like a secret note from an old, half-remembered melody. At first, the kiss had felt innocuous, a fleeting gesture born of mutual warmth and nostalgic connection. Yet as I walked back along the winding path towards my temporary haven, the delicate imprint of his lips on my skin ignited a cascade of memories and emotions. Every step stirred an internal dialogue. Was it merely a kind, unexpected act of affection, or had it opened a door to a long-forgotten part of myself yearning for freedom and authenticity? My heart, still echoing with the cadence of that unexpected moment, began to doubt. I recalled the comfort and certainty of my everyday life, the silent yet steadfast rhythm of home that had defined me for years. The memory of Derek's presence, reliable and unwavering, clashed with the spontaneous tenderness I had just experienced. A familiar guilt began to seep into my thoughts, a feeling that every cherished moment with my family was now overshadowed by the delicate stain of that kiss. Sitting by the edge of the lake, I allowed the gentle lapping of the water to mingle with my inner tumult. The sky, painted with the soft hues of dusk, offered a silent promise of renewal, yet my mind was troubled. I grappled with the realization that this single act, so simple and uncalculated, had stirred emotions that threatened to unravel the fabric of my carefully constructed life. With the quiet of the night surrounding me, I questioned the authenticity of my emotions. Was it merely a transient spark of excitement, or the rekindling of a long-dormant yearning for a life lived beyond the boundaries of routine? In that solitary moment, the duality of my existence became starkly apparent, a life of stability and duty set against the unpredictable allure of new, untamed feelings. The innocent kiss was no longer just a memory. It had become a fulcrum upon which my deepest desires and my unyielding responsibilities now precariously balanced. The drive back was shrouded in a quiet heaviness, as if the landscapes we left behind carried whispers of a different life, a life brimming with possibilities and fleeting escapes. Arriving at home, I was met by the familiar creaks of the front door and the soft glow of evening lights. Despite the comforting routine of returning to a place I had built with care, a dissonance lingered deep within me. Derek's arrival was as predictable as ever, tired yet kind, a silent nod greeting me after a long day. The house filled with the everyday rhythm of our family's evening, a gentle cacophony of clinking dishes, muted laughter, and the steady hum of television in the background. Ryan's excited chatter about his day contrasted sharply with the turmoil that now stirred inside me. Amid these ordinary moments, every smile, every casual remark was tinged with an undercurrent of distraction, as if part of me was somewhere far away at that lakeside cafe, questioning every established beat of my life. As the family gathered around the dinner table, the warmth of shared stories and loving glances wrapped around us like a familiar blanket. Yet, in the quiet intervals between our conversations, my mind revisited the memory of that unexpected kiss, a delicate reminder of a moment when time had paused and my heart had dared to dream. While Derek's steady presence anchored me in reality, the ghost of that encounter whispered persistently, challenging the sanctity of the life we'd built together. In the dim light of the living room later that evening, as the house settled into silence and the day's events slowly receded into memory, I felt the weight of conflicting emotions. The balance between duty and desire wavered precariously, leaving me with an unsettling realization. The warmth of home could not entirely erase the chill of that stolen moment. And so, as the night deepened, so too did the questions that would shape the uncertain path ahead. That night, after the final remnants of family chatter faded into the quiet of a sleeping home, I found myself alone with my thoughts in the dim glow of the living room. While the world outside slumbered, my mind roared with a turbulent mixture of regret and longing. Every whispered memory of that day, the unexpected kiss, the warmth of a familiar gaze, the echo of an unspoken promise, now clashed violently with the life I had so meticulously built over the years. In the solitude of the darkened hours, I began to trace the delicate lines between fleeting desire and deep-seated betrayal. The innocent, almost imperceptible kiss from Jordan had awakened a dormant part of me, a part that longed to experience life without borders, to feel the rush of emotions unencumbered by obligations. Yet, with each recollection, guilt gnawed at me. How could a single, tender moment so completely upend the carefully balanced world of home and duty? I lay awake, replaying the scene over and over, until the once innocent gesture transformed into a symbol of everything I feared, a fracture in trust that now threatened to erode the foundation of my marriage. As the minutes turned into hours, I recognized that my heart was caught in a silent battle, a struggle between the familiar comforts of routine and the perilous allure of a life reimagined. The thought of betraying Derek, of shattering the unspoken vows that had held our family together, filled me with a profound sorrow. I realized that this internal conflict was not merely about a kiss, but about the fundamental question of who I was and who I wished to become. In that stillness, I saw that the moment with Jordan had unlocked a cascade of emotions, forcing me to confront the duality of my existence. The bitter taste of betrayal mingled with the exhilarating promise of change, and in that crucible of emotion, I began to question everything. Was I simply chasing a shadow of freedom, or was there a deeper truth lurking behind this act of impulsive desire? As the night deepened, the stark reality settled in. I had reached a crossroads where every choice carried the weight of consequences. The silent reckoning was only the beginning, a painful yet necessary journey toward understanding my own heart and the life I truly wanted to lead. In the pale light of dawn, as the first soft rays crept through the curtains, I awoke with a fragile sense of resolve. The tumultuous nights of self-reckoning had given way to a quiet clarity, a realization that every choice, however painful, carried the seed of renewal. The echoes of that tender kiss with Jordan still resonated, but now they served as a reminder of a deeper need: to embrace my truth and navigate the complexities of my heart with honesty. I spent the morning in reflective solitude, tracing the contours of my emotions like a careful cartographer mapping uncharted territory. The life I had built with Derek, steadfast, familiar, and imbued with the warmth of shared memories, remained an anchor even as I grappled with newfound desires. It was in this delicate balance between the known and the unknown that I recognized the potential for transformation, the guilt and longing, the nostalgia for a life unbound by routine, and the quiet dread of betrayal all mingled into a singular truth. Change was inevitable if I were to live authentically. As the day unfolded, I resolved to confront the complexities head-on. I knew that the path ahead would be fraught with difficult conversations and uncertain outcomes. Yet the alternative, continuing to mask the stirring of my soul behind a veneer of predictability, was no longer an option. With a heart both heavy and hopeful, I resolved to share my inner turmoil with Derek, to seek understanding and perhaps forgiveness. I yearned for a life where vulnerability was not a liability, but a bridge to deeper intimacy, where both our dreams could coexist with the responsibilities we held dear. That morning, as I stepped outside to greet the new day, the air felt charged with possibility. Every breath reminded me that life's most transformative moments often arise from confronting our deepest fears. In embracing the future, I was ready to write a new chapter, one where the pursuit of truth, love, and self-discovery could finally take center stage. In the stillness of the early morning, with the weight of unresolved emotions pressing on me, I knew that the time had come for truth to break the silence that had long divided my inner world. The delicate balance between loyalty and longing had tipped into an undeniable urgency, a need to confess the stirrings of my heart, to reveal the fragile fissures in the life I had built. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, I sat at the kitchen table, a trembling note in my hand, rehearsing words that could either mend or shatter our fragile peace. Derek entered quietly, his presence a comforting constant even as my soul trembled with uncertainty. I watched him for a long moment, his tired eyes searching mine for any sign of deception. The silence stretched between us like an invisible chasm before I finally spoke, my voice raw with vulnerability. I recounted the unexpected encounter at the lakeside cafe, the gentle kiss that had awakened feelings long buried beneath the routine of our lives, and the restless conflict that had haunted my nights. Every word was a confession, a relinquishment of secrets that had weighed on me like a hidden sorrow. Derek listened in a hush that seemed to capture the gravity of each syllable. His face, etched with a mixture of pain and understanding, betrayed the shock of my revelations, yet also a quiet resolve to grasp at the truth, however painful. In that charged moment, our shared history, filled with both laughter and tears, stood as testament to the strength and fragility of our bond. There were no dramatic outbursts, only the raw honesty of two hearts laid bare, each grappling with the consequences of choices that had led us here. As I finished speaking, the silence deepened into a poignant pause. In that quiet aftermath, Derek's hand found mine. His touch was a silent question, an invitation to believe that perhaps there was a path forward, a future where forgiveness might bridge the gap between our fractured trust and our enduring love. The uncertainty of what lay ahead loomed large, yet within that uncertainty, a seed of hope took root. We both understood that this confession was not an end, but the precarious beginning of a journey toward healing.